This is the 5-minute guide to the Tone class heavy cruisers of the Imperial Japanese Navy.
Despite being written in English as Tone, this is actually the Tone class of cruiser. These were the last heavy cruisers actually completed for the Imperial Japanese Navy. Now at first these were supposed to be the 5th and 6th vessels in the Amagi Class. However, by the time construction started, there were some serious flaws that had been identified in the Amagi Class and the design was revised. Particularly this centred around the 4th Fleet incident of 1935, where a number of ships had either been damaged or, in the case of a few destroyers, actually sunk as a result of the construction being too light. These revisions, along with Japan stepping away from the London Naval Treaty, allowed the ships to be redesigned in quite a radical way. Although the Magamis had been laid down as light cruisers, with 5 triple 6-inch turrets, 3 forward and 2 aft, the Tones were eventually revised to have 4 twin 8-inch turrets, and unusually all of these would be concentrated forward. The first and second turrets would be super-firing of turrets facing forward, whilst turrets 3 and 4 would face aft. This would mean the entire forward battery was concentrated in the forward arc of the ship. The secondary battery would consist of 8 5-inch guns. These were dual-purpose units in twin shielded mounts, 12 25mm anti-aircraft guns in 6 pairs, and 12 torpedo tubes in 4 triple mounts, 2 per side. Now you might be wondering, well, with 8 8-inch guns up front, what are they putting on the back if they're not putting main battery guns? Well, the answer is aircraft. You see, unlike American and British carriers, no Japanese carrier aircraft were delegated to the role of reconnaissance, so reconnaissance had to be carried out for the fleet by the aircraft carried on cruisers, and cruisers generally had relatively limited space with between 1 and 3 aircraft. So with the Tone class, with the entire rear section of the ship dedicated to aircraft carriage, more aircraft could be carried, and this would, in theory, allow for the ships to provide full reconnaissance coverage for the Japanese Navy. Due to the aforementioned 4th Fleet incident showing that the welded hulls of the Amagi class were somewhat weak, the Tone only incorporated some welding, and its sister ship, the Chikuma, was an all-riveted design, these 2 ships forming the total build run of the Tone class. To improve stability and make construction easier, the ships also had a straight upper hull, and the superstructure was far less built up than typical Japanese ships of the 1930s. In theory, each ship could carry between 6 and 8 aircraft, although in practice no more than 5 were ever actually embarked. As you might imagine, these particular ships had very distinctive profiles and were easily recognisable. Once commissioned, the 2 ships formed the 8th Cruiser Squadron and would operate together for the rest of the war. As such, both ships would be present for the Pearl Harbor attacks, with the Tone and Chikuma both conducting aerial reconnaissance over Oahu in preparation for the attacks themselves. After various minor operations in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor, which included their aircraft being used as light strike aircraft, the next major operation the 2 ships took part in was the attack on Port Darwin in Australia, where 15 aircraft and 11 ships on the Allied side were destroyed by the combined Japanese assault. This included a Royal Australian Air Force Catalina flying boat, which the Tone's float planes shot down. The ships would then take part in raids in the Indian Ocean, which succeeded in destroying a number of Royal Navy vessels and Royal Air Force aircraft. And then they took part in the Battle of Midway, where perhaps the flaw in this particular ship's design was shown up. Due to internal bureaucracy in the command structure, although Tone's float planes discovered the American fleet, this report was not immediately passed to the carriers, and this played a key role in the eventual Japanese defeat by American forces. Conversely, the Chikuma's aircraft was able to spot the Enterprise at the Battle of Eastern Solomons and was thus responsible for the strike called in which damaged the ship. In both of these battles, the ships were attacked by American aircraft but survived. At the Battle of Santa Cruz, the ship's aircraft were vital in discovering the American forces and again resulted in successful attacks, this time sinking the carrier Hornet. Both ships would then receive an increased anti-aircraft battery of up to 20 additional 25mm guns, before taking part in numerous escort and troop transport missions towards the end of 1943. At the beginning of 1944, Cruiser Division 8 was disbanded and they were reassigned to Cruiser Division 7 alongside the Suzuya and the Kumano. The ships were present for the Battle of the Philippine Sea, with Chikuma having been repaired from bomb damage suffered during the Battle of Santa Cruz. However, this saw pretty much the entirety of the Japanese air fleet destroyed, as far as the naval forces were concerned. And so soon after, the rear aircraft decks were replaced with more anti-aircraft guns, bringing the total 25mm anti-aircraft battery up to 54 guns. Radar was also fitted, but this was pretty much the extent of the refits the ships would receive. Both ships would then be committed to the Battle of Leyte Gulf along with the rest of their cruiser division, but even their heavily enhanced anti-aircraft batteries could not save the Musashi from being sunk, and Tone herself was hit by bombs. The following day saw the Battle of Samar itself, and although Tone engaged the American destroyer Heermann, the Chikuma was lost in the battle along with the cruisers Chokai and Suzuya. This again showed the relative lack of capacity of Japanese anti-aircraft naval firepower, since ironically the ship was taken down by multiple American torpedo bomber strikes. Following this, Tone was given an even heavier light anti-aircraft battery with a total of 62 guns, but was reduced to a training ship as fuel and personnel shortages began to bite in the Imperial Japanese Navy. The end would come on 24th of July 1945 when Task Force 38 launched a large raid against the Japanese naval base at Kure, and 9 aircraft hit the Tone with 3 bombs, causing her to settle to the bottom of the bay.
That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have a comment or suggestion for a ship to review, let us know in the comments below.